share my screen here so you guys can all be able to access that. Is it shared to you there?
Yes, sir.
You're good? Okay. Well, welcome everybody. I appreciate you guys hopping on and taking your valuable time. Obviously a unique time with this virus going around, which I'm not going to talk, any about, but I hope everybody's doing well. I hope your families are doing well. I just got off a team meeting with our players at Duke, and this thing is real and in a bunch of communities. So, hope everybody, stays safe and does well throughout this thing. I'd like to thank every single one of you for coming on here today. I'm sure plenty of your wives, like my wife, would rather have me doing chores at the house right now than on here talking ball. But I appreciate you guys taking time and doing this. And then thank you to Coach G for setting this up. We were just talking as you guys were coming in. What an awesome platform this is for all of us to learn from each other. I may visit with a staff or two in the off season, but for all of us to be, from all over the world coming on here and coast to coast in the United States, absolutely awesome to connect on here. So thank you for your time. And then I know a number of you guys are high school coaches, and my high school coach, I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, grew up on the east side of Cleveland. My high school coach is one of the most influential people in my life before getting to college and having real relationships with college coaches. But I really want to thank you for what you do. By the time we get a player at Duke, they've already chosen a path of some sort of success in their life. When they're 18 years old and they've done well enough in school to get to Duke University and obviously are high-level players, they're already on that path. You have guys, right, whether it's from 14 to 17 years old that could be, at a crossroads. So what you do every single day, there is not a more important job in America than what you do, for you guys that are high school coaches on here. And just, really a heartfelt thank you. And I mean that wholeheartedly to what you guys do. So I know we don't have open dialogue on here. I don't love lecturing. I love clinicking and being able to have back and forth. And obviously I'm looking at a computer screen and not your guys' faces. But please, if you have questions, type them into, that chat so Coach G can share them with me on there. And Coach G, as they come up, feel free to stop me and talk about something that comes up, or if we need to go back at the end, then we'll definitely do that.
Sounds good.
From our standpoint of what I want to talk about today is, we call our defense devil defense at Duke. And I take a lot of pride in trying to create culture of our defense and then some unique teaching methods. I think this will be unique and different than most clinics that you guys sit in. This is not going to be a football specific clinic. So this is going to be about culture within your system and then how we try to teach at our place. And I'll be able to show you, that as we go. All right, so the first thing on here, okay, if there's anything that I pride myself on being is a teacher, okay? And I know some of you guys are full-time teachers as well as being full-time coaches, but as a coach, that's the first thing that I say, okay, hey, if you pride yourself, Matt, on doing one thing, it's going to be on how we can teach, okay? And the first piece of being effective doing that is, as you see at the top of the screen, is developing young men. This is not going to be the topic of this conversation today, but I think I'd be remiss without at least touching on it. So you see Coach Cutcliffe, that's one of his quotes right there, is to teach winning as a value. And he does clinic talks on just that all around the country. Some of you guys may have seen it at Nike Coach of the Year. If you spend time at our place at Duke, which please come visit us, once this all calms down. We're an open book at our place, and we'd love to have you on campus at any moment. But I'll use the example of finishing. So, let's say we're teaching our guys to finish through a line. Okay, so the short-term results of that is they're getting better at finishing in football, right? So they learn to finish through a cone or finish through a line. They're going to be better at finishing a tackle. They're going to be better at finishing a block. You're going to win more fourth-quarter games because your teams are good finishers. But what's the end result is that is, okay, they're a better finisher in their job. They're a better finisher in their family, with their faith, those types of things. So teaching winning as a value, as Coach Cutt would talk about this, he would talk about, okay, let's take 50 of our players and put them into a yard that's been completely trashed. And we tell them, hey, call us when it's all cleaned up and you're finished. And we would get 50 different results. And the guys that are most successful are the best finishers. So teaching winning as a value, yes, we are teaching winning because winning is an all-the-time thing, but as a value for them in their life. So that's one little piece that, Coach would obviously talk about a lot, but we could talk all day about. But, yeah, the focus of, what I want to do today is our subject of football. And our subject of football, right, has two pieces to it. Okay, the first one is a culture component, and the next one is our teaching methods that we do. So when it comes to culture, you look at, again, it's not what you do, but how you do it. So like we're a base 4-2-5 at Duke. We run 3-3 stack. We run bare fronts. We have exotic packages. We're able to get into 4-3 sub personnel groupings, all those types of things. Okay. That doesn't matter, right? We all have different things. There's offensive and defensive coaches on here. We all have different philosophies about how we're going to put our pieces in place on defense to surround the ball different ways, right? That's not what matters. It's how you do it that matters. And I'll show you how we try to do that for us. The other component of that is I think when culture comes up, a lot of head coaches talk about culture, right? So I go to a lot of lectures. Very few coordinators or position coaches talk about culture because the culture starts at the top. Very true. But if you're an offensive or defensive coordinator, you're the culture of your room, right? Coach Cutcliffe would say, as a position coach, you are the head coach of your position. That's a different frame of mind now. Okay. So you're getting the option to create what kind of culture you want to have in that room. So that's something that we've been able to create at our place. The next thing is effective teaching methods. Okay. So this quote is something that I'm passionate about. Meet them where they're at to get them where you want them to be. Okay. So what does that mean? I'll use texting versus talking as an example. Okay. If you went into our room at Duke when guys first come in, those guys, probably much no different than your players, are better texters than talkers. Okay, what's the end result? We need them to communicate on a field. We need them to be able to get up in front of a team and be articulate, or in a classroom, right? Or to be business leaders and to be able to communicate those types of things, right? Whether it's an interview on ESPN, any of those kind of things, okay? But they're not going to start there, right? So how do we try to meet the players where they're at to get them where we want them to be and not get frustrated with that process? So if a guy is a better texter than talker, right, as a recruit, let's say, then I would approach that recruit and I would start with text conversation. And as we continue to break down barriers of relationships, now we're talking on the phone, now we're doing FaceTime. So we're doing those types of things to try to get them, again, where we want them to be. So I'm passionate about that. Madden football is a big, right? Guys love playing. Every single recruit I'm on Zoom with right now, right? They talk all the time about, wait, what are you doing? I'm playing Madden. Okay. Well, shoot, they're learning football in some capacity, right? How do we take them from that and then to get them where we want them to be? The other thing is, you see Chip Kelly's name on here. So when Chip Kelly was in the transition from the NFL back to college football before he was at UCLA, he came and he spent some time with our staff. So he and Coach Cutcliffe have a relationship, and he came in and we were sitting in a full staff meeting. And he said he gets to the NFL and he's sitting with the Eagles and they're saying, okay, everything in the league is even. If you win, you draft last. If you lose, you draft first. Your time is the same, OTAs, right? What is our edge going to be? You can't recruit better than somebody else, right? What's our edge going to be? And he broke it down to, okay, hey, it's all about teaching. So what he did was he hired a firm of teachers, a teaching firm, to come and sit in meetings. And some of you guys, this has been well documented too, if you want to look at articles of this too. But they had people who teach teaching sit in meetings with their position coaches. So you have these big time NFL coaches, right? And they're getting ripped in meetings because they're not teaching very effectively. So we took that to heart and we said, okay, it's no different for us in college, or it's no different for you, right? Our job as a teacher, what are the most effective methods that we can? Some guys learn visually. Some guys need to see somebody else do it. Some guys need to do it. Some guys can hear it one time and know what to do. But that's our job, is to try to, figure those types of things out. And I thought, how we started to mold ourselves from a teaching method at Duke, Chip Kelly had a great influence just from those couple of days that he spent with us. So what I'm going to take you through is 3 phases of our meetings, okay? So this would be no different than if you were in a Monday meeting with our squad, a Tuesday meeting with our squad, and a review meeting on Wednesday with our squad, okay? So essentially a culture meeting, that's the main focus of how we do things. And these are the actual meeting slides that you would be seeing as a player in our defense, okay? So all I did, as you'll see, is I think sometimes film runs choppy through this, and it may be because of, my Wi-Fi here and stuff, but as you get into big groups. So a lot of that film I just cut as a picture. So I'll explain that as we go, okay? But this would be just like if you were sitting in one of our unit meetings. So we're going to have a culture meeting, okay? That's going to be our day 1, page 1, how we're trying to establish a culture at Duke on defense. An install, so day 1, page 1 install, how we try to teach, and then a review of practice, okay? So points of emphasis and things that we're trying to make sure that we are getting done. All right, so here's unit meeting number 1, spring 2020. So this is before all this happened. We had 3 practices, a Monday, Wednesday, Friday practice before we went on spring break. It was 2 weeks ago. And then obviously none of us have returned from that break since. Okay. But this is our first meeting and our guys are all walking into the room. And then you can see in that bottom right, that music that's highlighted in red at the bottom. Music is absolutely blasting when they come into the room. Okay. So our meetings start at 7:05 in the morning. Put yourself into the mold of a college football player. You're getting work done at Duke University. You may have had a test the night before. I've been in plenty of places that, right, the guys wake up, they do their corrective exercises, they get dressed, and then they go sit in a dark room. I don't like that philosophy, right? And it's no different than some of your guys probably at a high school level. They've been working all day long. You get them at the end of the day. You got to get them focused on, okay, hey, now it's time for football, right? So trying to be consistent with this is a teaching thing for us too. But, I mean, the music is blasting. Guys are dancing, guys are singing, and the players create the playlist. So it's a clean version of whatever songs they want. We even have a guy on our defense who likes to rap. We put his songs on there sometimes. So it's awesome for our kids to create an environment of really high energy, okay? So they all come in. They have assigned seats, okay? For meetings at Duke University, we call them that you have to be dressed and ready. That means whatever you need besides your cleats and your shoulder pads and helmet is on. So if we're in full pads, they've got their pads in their pants. They have their shirts all tucked in. They're already taped before they come into meetings, right? So you're not going to be leaving a meeting early to go and do any of these things, okay? So this is all about, being dressed and ready to go in, okay? So they sit into their assigned seats, and then I will address the room. So I will come up in front of them and I will say, greetings, defenders. Okay. When I say that, the meeting has started, which I think is important because when I don't like just kind of flowing into it. Okay. Or, hey, let's focus in now. Like I like a specific start to bam. Now class is in session. Okay. So right when class is supposed to start, everybody's in there 5 minutes early, right? I'll get up in front of the room. If it's a 7:05 meeting at 7:05, greetings, defenders. They will all then respond to me, greetings. Okay, what does that mean? Okay, meetings have started. They're sitting up in their seat. Their feet are flat on the floor. Eyes are up on me. Okay, if not, then I'm going to correct that. And then their notebooks are out and ready to go. Right. So you're also training your guys for what you expect when class starts in the classroom for them. Okay. And then here's the first culture component for us. Okay, is what we call strength and honor. So that is our code of our defense. So I will say strength and honor, hand right in a fist over my heart to those guys, and they will say back to me strength and honor. That is our code. Now that is completely stolen from The Gladiator, which is my all-time favorite movie, or one of my all-time favorite movies. So here's this next slide. So I would say strength and honor. They would respond to me strength and honor. And again, we're establishing our culture day one. So I'm assuming that they know nothing about Duke football defense, what we call devil defense. And this would normally be a video clip of 2 Roman soldiers, right? Maximus, if you've seen the movie, and they're about to go into the first battle scene of the movie, and they're saying strength and honor to each other. So why does this matter? We're establishing the trust and respect, right? What we call strength and honor of the room. Okay. So whatever your code is going to be, right? That's got to mean something to us. So we would show them this quick scene, and then I would go ahead and I would define what strength means. Okay. So I would say, okay, hey, the strength is the capacity of an object or substance to withstand great force or pressure. Why am I doing this? There's 5 mid-year freshmen that are in the room that have no idea what I'm doing right now, right? So I have to define every little thing to make sure that from a culture standpoint, again, before we talk about any football, culturally, we're on the same track, okay? And then we got a chance when it comes to the football components of things, as you guys will see as it goes, okay? So I'm defining strength to them, okay? Then I'm defining what honor means to us, okay? Adherence to what is right or to a conventional standard of conduct, right? So having strength together as a unit on defense, right? And being honorable in what we do, okay? So no matter what happens, right? That's what we're holding ourselves to, okay? Now, that's me saying that, okay? So again, like I said, I don't like lecturing because I think you tune me out, right, in 2 minutes, okay? And hopefully I'm not being so boring for you right now that you're tuning me out, but you tune me out fast, right? These guys are 18 years old, 19, 20, 21, right? They're going to tune me out, okay, if it's not something that they're involved with, okay? So then this would come up, and it would say, come to the front of the room and describe what strength and honor means to you, right? And here's Victor Dumukeji, who's an All-American defensive end for us, and he's getting up and he's saying, okay, hey, what does it mean to me? What does it mean to our defensive line at Duke? What does it mean to, be part of our defense? And these are guys that are veterans who have been in the room that are establishing whatever your culture is, right? Tradition never graduates. However you want to say it, right? It's getting passed down from year to year to year to year. So here's Vic, and he would get up and he would do it. And Vic would sit down. right? And then here's Mark Gilbert, who, if you followed our program at all, Mark's had a long road back from recovery, but was a projected first-round corner, All-American for us. And Mark's getting up and he's saying, hey, this is what strength and honor means to me, right? And why it's got to be important to you. So that's a corner. Here's a safety, Marquise Waters. So he would get up and then he would say, he's been a multi-year starter for us. Hey, this is what strength and honor means to me. Here's the other thing, okay? You're putting your guys into a situation, right? They don't know who's coming up, okay? They may be uncomfortable, right? They may have a bad habit of twisting their hair or putting their hands up or looking off to the side. Here's your chance to see how your guys respond, right, from day one, okay, which a lot of you guys probably do individually, positionally in meetings and that kind of stuff, how they respond to be putting under a pressure situation. So we had a corner who he could barely do this, right? So we knew he was a super talented guy. We knew we had to develop him into getting comfortable in front of his peers, right? And then the last one for us was Shaka Hayward. So Shaka was a redshirt freshman this year who started our opening game against Alabama and essentially for the rest of the year. And again, so it may not be a veteran leader. It may be a really good young player who's doing everything that you're asking them, and they have bought in, and then they're, saying what it means to them too. So, and again, why are we doing it? We're establishing culture, okay? But it doesn't matter what I say to the guys. It matters what they believe, right? So from day one, they're establishing what the rules of the room are going to be. All right, so now let's talk a little bit about branding, okay? So hashtags are hot on social media, right? I use them all the time, okay? Where are your guys on? They're on Twitter, right, for crazy amounts of time. They're on Instagram. They're on Snapchat. So they're seeing life through social media lenses at times, okay? So again, we're meeting them where they're at to get them where we want them to be, okay? So for us, I wanted to brand our defense, okay? When it was my opportunity to be one of the co-defensive coordinators, myself and Ben Albert, and we sat down and we said, okay, hey, how do we want to be known? Like, what's our MO going to be, right? And obviously we're the Duke Blue Devils, but Devil defense, playing with that, right, hellacious edge that we want to create. Whatever it is, I think it's important to have something that, right, every time I post a graphic on Twitter or send it to a recruit or our guys, right, they're saying Devil defense, right? So they're saying these types of things, but you're establishing, or maybe with a leadership group of seniors, what's your identity going to be, right? The next thing for us is what I call 60 minutes of hell. So this is completely stolen from Nolan Richardson, who, if you've ever studied him when he was at Arkansas, he was a head basketball coach at Arkansas, and he won a national championship, actually beat Duke in the finals. And his philosophy was 40 minutes of hell. Press, full court press, every single snap, in your face, aggressive, no stopping at all, right? At a place like Arkansas, which you wouldn't think of as a blue blood basketball program year in and year out, like you would at Duke University, okay? And here they are beating Duke in the national championship. That's what I want our defense to be like, right? I equate it to our guys. Everybody's been going to the YMCA, and there's that dude that's not super talented, right? But he's playing his butt off at YMCA basketball, press in your face, calling for the ball, making steals, layups, right? That kind of pressure that you're creating, I want our defensive guys to create there for an offense, right? So to put that on, right? I always joke with our guys, if you watch routes versus air from an offense, you'd be like, man, these guys are almost unstoppable. If you watched our offense and just do RBA, now put defensive players on there and disrupt the timing of what's happening, right? With press coverage or limiting access or pressure on the quarterback, right? So we want that 60 minutes of hell, right? So that intensity, Devil defense, 60 minutes of hell, not 20 minutes, not 30 minutes, not 3/4, right? The college game is 60 minutes long, and that's what we want those guys to feel, whether that's 48 minutes for you guys, right? So that's the reality of us branding our defense. And then this is a fun thing for us that we've done over a number of years. If you followed us at all from a social media standpoint, we've named every position group at Duke. I don't think this is a necessity, but I think it is a great advantage for a couple things, right? One, obviously recruiting, okay? From our standpoint in college, I think it's awesome to be able to have a brand that you're selling, but more important for your guys, because then they're bought into something, right? So you may have the no-fly zone in the secondary or whatever it is. For us, the Rushman is Ben Albert's group of our defensive line, and creating that mentality that he's done for a number of years. But everything that he does is, Rushman forever, or Rushman when they're breaking it down. And it's a pride point for those guys to be that. He's a poet too on the side. So we call him the Blackbird. He does poetry, and he even has a Rushman poem that he produces for his guys that he has his guys memorize. So it's a true brand for that room. And then they're part of that, right? Not just a Duke football player. They're part of that Rushman society the rest of their life. Our linebackers, we call wild dogs. So that's Linear Gothi's group. And we've been doing this for a number of years. But if you ever, watch National Geographic or Animal Planet, things like that, and study wild dogs and how they hunt in packs. And we love that, concept. So we use that for our linebackers. And in the back end, we call our DBs the coalition. So we call our DBs cheetahs. And the reason we started using that term is we were talking all the time about showing our guys film when we first came to Duke of cheetahs hunting. So they're running after a gazelle or some animal, right? And they're always eyes on the hip. Well, it's no different than if I'm near hip tracking, running the angle as a safety, or I'm in man coverage as a corner and my eyes are on the hip of the guy that I'm covering. So cheetahs, I'll give you a quick little one on this. Cheetahs normally hunt alone, but if they do hunt in a group, they hunt only with their blood brothers. And that's 4 or 5 of them when they're young. So we're a 4-2-5 on defense. So our 5 DBs on the field, we call that group the coalition, right? So that's become a big pride point for us. But it's big for our guys, right? They have shirts that say, the coalition, Rushman, wild dogs, all kind of stuff like that. So again, what are we branding, right? You're a part of this position group, right? You're the head coach of your position, right? As a position coach. Okay. Then I'm part of the coalition, right? Our defense, that's Devil Defense, 60 Minutes of Hell. And then obviously for us at Duke University, we call ourselves the Duke Gang. We're the furthest thing from a gang in America, but we are that tight, right? So branding has become big for us, okay? Right after this is just a picture. This would be a highlight video to the guys, okay? So this is day 1, page 1 meetings, okay? We're branding our defense to them. This is 40 seconds, okay, of the previous year of plays of guys making plays, okay? And it doesn't have to be in a cool version with film or that kind of stuff. It could be a quick reel of big hits, TFL, sacks, press cover, whatever you want to be. Hey, guys, this is how we should appear every single snap, right? So the tone is set with your guys. And it could be an example of you guys doing a pursuit drill. Hey, or pursuing the football. Man, this is how we run to the ball. Whatever you want to set up as your ID, I think it's important to create right off the bat. So we choose to do that through a fun highlight video for our guys. And they're hooting and hollering at each other and having fun in the moment. Now we're getting a little bit, so again, continuing to brand, right? So 60 Minutes of Hell, what does it mean to us? Again, so they've heard it one time, they've seen what it looks like in a highlight video, we're going back and defining it. No different than we did with Strength and Honor at the beginning, right? We showed it, defined it, they defined it, right? So now we're doing that process again. So 60 Minutes of Hell, again, aggressive, press, in your face, no quit for 60 minutes. That's what we want to be, okay? This is our slogan on defense, the decision is mine, okay? So this is actually a military sniper slogan, right? The decision is theirs to actually kill somebody, right? Which is obviously a really serious thing, okay? Our decision is to do your job, to be a great teammate, and to follow what we call the man's rule. We have one team rule at Duke University. Be where you're supposed to be, doing what you're supposed to be doing as well as you could possibly do it. That's it. Every other rule, right, is an indoctrination from a senior. How to act in a dorm, how to act in class, how to communicate, those types of things are coming from seniors. But that's coach's one team rule is the man's rule for us, okay? So this logo that just popped up on your screen, again, is a military scout and sniper slogan, the decision is mine. That is also our helmet sticker at Duke. So if you ever see our defensive players, they get these at the end of the week on Sundays based on their performance on Saturday, right? So again, whatever it is, it could be your helmet sticker. Day 1, right? Every freshman is hearing about, okay, hey, what does that mean? Right? And for us, we give it for production points, right? Third down stops, drawing penalties if you're getting rushed and holding happens, PBUs, havoc plays. So we're charting that every single day, right? And they're getting helmet stickers. And we do this for scrimmages. We do this for off-season drills. You can do it for mat drills, whatever you want. So you're simulating that same thing as in-season Sundays. Then we're talking about our operation. So we're getting into some football specifics, okay? So here's our operation at Duke. Running on and off the field, okay, and taking pride in what you do, right? We do not condition after practice at Duke. So we do not line up and do a bunch of 110s or things like that. We condition throughout practice. They run from drill to drill. They sprint on the field and they sprint off the field. It does not say jog, that says run, right? So taking that pride, right? So when that unit, boom, 2 defenses going on the field, they're running out there with a purpose of going 3 and out, right? So taking great pride in what they do. Then everyone's seeing the signal, okay? So these are like little things that you may say, oh, shoot, everybody knows this. Well, no, we're going to make sure we establish it day 1. So we're not having to go back and say, oh, shoot, we didn't tell you that everybody has to see the signal, right? So the freshmen's got to know too, okay? Everybody looks over and they see the signals, right? Multiple signalers, right, how we do things at Duke, seeing the signal, right, then they're verbally going to communicate the call to each other. Okay. So they'll be able to say, okay, hey, we're in this defense. And then they're hand signaling every check and being verbal with that. Okay. So again, we want to be very specific on what the process is. No different than you may as a linebacker coach say, okay, hey, toes are at 4 yards, right? Here's how we teach a 10. Here's how we teach a 30 alignment. Where are my eyes? What's my triangle read, right? It's got to be the same process for your guys on just our operation of getting, right, a call from the sidelines. And then we give them focus points, okay? So whatever you emphasize, you're going to get better at, right? So if you emphasize takeaways, you're going to take the ball away. If you emphasize tackling, you're going to tackle better, okay? So what are your couple things that you want to emphasize to your guys as you create culture at your place, okay? So the first thing, if you've ever heard Coach Cutt lecture at all, the 55 is one of his things, okay? So the average play is about 5 seconds long, and you have to have 5 wins in those 5 seconds. Alignment, assignment, effort, execution, and finish in that order. So alignment, assignment, and effort, you should be coaching early in the year. Execution and finish, that should be all your coaching late in the year. You shouldn't have to be coaching alignment week 8 to your guys, or else we failed somewhere along the way, or you've had a ton of injuries and we're playing guys that haven't been with us. The foundational blocks of our program at Duke is discipline and conditioning. You got Coach GIC on there.
Yeah, I got a couple questions here for you, Coach.
Yeah.
How many different signalers you guys? You want one for DBs and one for the front?
So all of our defenses, which I'm going to get into, are packaged. Okay, a lot of them are one-word calls for us because of the tempo that we have to have. So we will normally be in a situation where we could have a number of signalers, 2 or 3 on the sidelines, but one of them would be live. So that can change, and you can have it where there's front and coverage signalers. But for us, everything is packaged into one-word calls, and then they're all learning from that. And that tells the front, the stunt, the pattern, and the coverage all into that one word. So there's a little bit more memorization into that, but they all know who the signal is, and they're looking at that individual to get the call from there.
2 more questions here. Do you guys do you give stickers away after a loss?
Yes. Right. I think that's critically important. Okay. You guys spilled their guts out and they tried to do, right, everything that they could. They may have the best week of prep that they've ever had. Let's say you lose the game in a 2-minute drill. Okay. One, you better reflect on yourself right. First, it starts with me is why we may have lost the game. Okay. But I don't think that just because you lost a game that you're not giving those out. And when we give out stickers, we'll say, okay, hey, here's Leonard Johnson, corner for us. And everybody's got a nickname up there. His nickname is Cornbread. Okay, so hey, here's Cornbread, right? And he gets up and he had a TFL, he had a sack, and he had an interception. Okay, the max for us is 10 in a game. Let's say give them 6, then they would clap 6 times. So that it's interactive with the guys. That's how we would do that. So, but yes, wins or losses, right? We give away the stickers the exact same.
And a few people are wanting you just to go over the first bullet point again.
55?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So Coach Cutt is big on like quick hitting things. Okay. Like I'll use the example of, I'll get to the 55 in a second, but the example of cheetah. Okay. So if I wanted my DBs to get their eyes to the near hip of a wide receiver, all I would say to them is cheetah. So that code word is taught in meetings. Okay. And it's because everything is so fast-paced in what we do at Duke on the practice field. So coaching on the run is part of his philosophy. So one of his quick hitters that's program-wise is 55, okay? So the way that he talks about the 55 is the average play is about 5 seconds long, and you have to do 5 things during that play to be successful. And that is alignment, assignment, effort, execution, and finish. So those are the 5 things that Coach talks about. And then when I got into from there was alignment, assignment, and effort. Those are things that you should be coaching early in the year. Execution and finish, that's all you should be coaching later in the year. You shouldn't have to be talking about playing hard or how to get aligned or what my assignment is, right? You could talk about the execution of quarters versus this 3x1 week 8 because this team is unique, and then how we're finishing plays from there. But that's the 55, which has become – so if you come in our facility, it's all over the place. And our guys know that all the time. And then Coach Cutt a lot of times has us grade that on every single snap. So a guy may make a play. Let's say he makes an interception, but he's misaligned, right? He's supposed to be 1 by 12 off of number 2, and he's not, right? he was 18 yards deep and he made a play. Okay. But the guy has to know, right, it may not work all the time that way. So we'll grade that way too when we do that. Discipline and conditioning we were talking about. So again, that's the foundational blocks of our program at Duke University, right? So being a disciplined individual, right, and conditioning. If you do those two things, you got a shot, right? At least to build from there. But if you're undisciplined or you don't have a high conditioning level, we got no shot as a defense, right, or as a program. So everything that we do in the off season is a discipline and conditioning, discipline, conditioning, right? All of our meetings, we touch on those things. So again, these are our focus points of like, we got to do these things great, right? The next one's about being a great teammate, right? So especially in the off season, you've got guys competing for jobs, which is awesome. You want that competitive environment because it makes everybody better. But I think as a point of emphasis too, is being great teammates and coming together as a great team, right? I think Coach Cutt tweeted it out earlier this week, but the best compliment that you can ever have, right, is someone saying that you are a great teammate. And if you can accomplish that, then you got a leg up on a lot of your competition. The next thing is run to the football, right? So as a defense, okay, there's a lot of mistakes that get covered up if all 11 guys are running to the football. Your value as a defensive player is measured by your distance from the football when the whistle is blown. That's from your nose tackle to your deep safety, right? When the ball gets thrown out towards the sideline, right? When that whistle gets blown, right? All of us are running our butt off as fast as we possibly can to that, right? And we're going to see how close we can be to the ball by the time the play ends. And we're going to be the guy that expects to make the play, right? Winning one-on-one blocks, right? So schematically, I'd like to think that we're sound in what we do, but there may be times, right? Again, offensive coordinators, right, are dang good at what they do, and they may scheme you up where it's all one-on-one, and someone's got to beat a block to win, right? And normally we want a free hat in our defense, but there's times that, again, you got to whip your one-on-one blocks, and you've got to go ahead and be a solid tackler as well, right? So tackling has always a big point of emphasis for us, and that's one of the things I'm most passionate about teaching is tackling. And then taking the football away, right? So there's a lot of teams, if you look across the country, that kept points down, not because they kept yards down, but because they took the football away, right? So possession downs on 3rd and 4th down, being able to get off the field then, but taking the football away. Turnovers is one of the 4 biggest factors in winning and losing games. So what's going to come up next is what we call our winning edges, okay? And you'll see how this is ends up being displayed to our guys, okay? So we came up with 13 things, and these will come up one by one, 13 things that we said, okay, we have got to do well on defense in order for us to be successful, and we teach them to our players, okay? And this is reviewed every single practice through film from practice or games, which I'll show you how that looks. This is also call and response, okay? So a slide would come up that would say junction points on it. And everybody in the room would then say, gotta win them. And then it would show clips of us winning or losing, right? Any junction point on the field, anytime that 2 bodies are coming together. So that could be a block destruction opportunity for us or a tackle opportunity for us, right? So I would say junction points, and then they would respond and say, gotta win them, okay? The next thing is pull your trigger, okay? So we don't want to be hesitant on defense. We want to be really decisive in everything that we do, okay? So I would say pull your trigger, and then they would say bang, bang. And it would show great clips of safeties, linebackers playing aggressive and downhill on their breaks, or examples of guys being hesitant and not as good at what they were doing, right? So we're teaching these things to try to get our defense, again, these fundamentals, right, or we think are the 13 most important things that we have to do. Get better, okay? This encompasses everything, okay? So if I say get better, they say every day, right? So early on, we installed you're either getting better or you're getting worse. Nothing stays the same. But this could be things that we're doing well. So let's say we've been coaching really hard on vicing the football, right? And this could be some good examples of that or examples of us not getting done. Or let's say you're coaching blitz patterns, right? And you're doing blitz on cans a bunch and things like that. If your guys are executing at a high level, put it in this category, right? And say, okay, hey, guys, look, we've asked you to do this and you're getting it done. Or, hey, we've asked you to do this and you're not getting it done, right? You got to get in your playbook or whatever it is to get them to that point. The next one is defend explosives. So they would say 5 or less undefeated. So in our 12 years at Duke University, if we give up 5 or less explosive plays in the game, which is not easy to do in today's game, we are undefeated. We have never lost a game. So again, for explosives for us at Duke, that's runs of 12 plus or passes of 18 plus. So you may have different ways of looking at that or have it just be one number, plays over 15 or plays over 20 that are, swaying points in a big time way is how we look at them. But if we give 5 or less of those runs, 12 plus, or passes, 18 plus, we're undefeated at our place. So we're showing how, this could be an example of just a defensive end coming off the edge, right, and whipping a tackle. We may be completely busted in the secondary, but that great effort limited an explosive play. Or, hey, we got lack of communication on this check in 2x2 in this defense, right, and then that's how a big play happened from there. Staying on top, okay? So we play a lot of tight coverage at Duke, which is like a fist fight every single snap. There's times for them also to be a top-down playmaker, right? So their term for that is deep as the deepest. So we would say stay on top, and they would say deep as the deepest. Coach G?
Do you count penalties in your explosives?
Against us, no, we do not. So one of our big things is tracking pre- or post-snap penalties. Okay, so let's say a guy's jumping off sides, right, or he gets a personal foul. Okay, now we could put that into a cut up, right, if a guy was a habitual offender of that. But like if a guy gets, let's say PI, right, or a face mask during play penalties like that, that's hard. Sometimes that's just a guy being aggressive too, right? So we're not huge sticklers on that. But we do track pre- and post-snap penalties, and that goes under our discipline and conditioning, right? If you're not disciplined enough to not line up on sides, right, or to not shove somebody and be the second punch and, get a 15-yarder because of that, then you're not going to be out there for us. It's a great question, though. So anyway, stay on top, right? So if we're putting you in a deep half or a deep third or deep middle of the field, making sure you're top-down defender, right? So teaching those guys, okay, hey, when am I a top-down playmaker, right? What should my cushion be, okay, compared to when we're in our fist fight tight coverages? Clean feet, right? They would say can't have dirty ones. So this is playing with a great base, not crossing your feet, not false stepping. So this could be an end playing shuffle technique versus zone read, or this could be a DB out of a transition in off quarters versus a quick pass to the flat. But again, showing them how to play with a good base, how to play on the balls of their feet, chest over knees, nose over toes in the back end, and effective movement skills. The next one is tips and overthrows, and they would say got to have those. Okay, so most interceptions, right? We're playing against a lot of quarterbacks that are NFL quarterbacks in the ACC. You guys play against really good quarterbacks every single week. Most of the time, interceptions are not because they just threw the ball to the defensive player, right? They're tip balls, they're overthrown balls in different coverages. You've got to capitalize on those opportunities. If not, right, then you're missing out on those. So again, anytime a ball gets tipped, line of scrimmage in the back, where we'll highlight that and we say we got to have that. The next one's OSCE, right? So that's our term for interceptions, right? We yell OSCE. You may have a different, term at your place. And our guys would say QB and intended. So the guys that we're blocking, right, are always going to be the quarterback and the intended wide receiver. Those are the guys who make most tackles on pick six opportunities. Now that may change, right? Obviously, if you look at sometimes a running back on a team may be great at running somebody down and stripping the football out from there, okay? But getting the quarterback and the intended wide receiver blocked is what we emphasize. Get it out, okay? So getting the football out, stripping the football, getting it out on PBU opportunities. Our guys say ODB, which stands for our damn ball, okay? So it may have their logo on it on Saturdays, right? But it's going to be our ball, okay? So our damn ball, and having that mentality, okay, hey, we are going to go be the aggressor and get the football. Smart swarm, okay? So meet me at the ball is what they say. This is our term for our pursuit, okay? So we don't want just chaos and guys just playing as hard as they can without knowing where to go, right? But how you're teaching angles, how you're teaching guys to be force, alley, cutback defenders, right? Defensive linemen, right? At the heels of the play, right? Behind the line of scrimmage, ball away, right? Those types of things are important as you teach pursuit. So we highlight those as good and bad examples in this category, right? Hot stove. So everybody's probably touched a hot stove before, okay? And how fast you get your hand off of a hot stove. That's how fast we get up off the ground. So their term, when they say it back to us, is loaf equals trader. So Coach Albert, this is one of his quotes. If you're loafing, you might as well go put the other team's jersey on and play for the other team, right? So we're not going to have any traders in our room. So if we see a guy who falls down on the ground and he's slowly getting up, what we call a cold stove, right? Or a guy that's really lazy, right? Pursuit-wise, we're calling him out immediately, right? We're saying, hey, you're not accountable to your teammates. We can't count on you in the fourth quarter when everybody's tired to be a guy who's going to be a tempo setter for us. So we want to call those out. And again, this is just, right, us categorizing what are the things that are important to us. You may have a completely different group, and then showing good and bad examples. So guys are learning defensive football. Vice, right? So vicing the football. So this is how we surround the ball, right? So we always talk about force, alley, and cutback, right, to put triangles on the ball in space, okay? So showing guys, right, again, their term to respond to us is own your hip, okay? We're not talking about, right, slowing down, right, coming to complete balance and stopping our feet, letting guys restart their feet before we can. We're talking about being aggressive and downhill, right? And if you miss, just make sure that you miss on your leverage side. We can get in a whole nother conversation about what we call devil tackling and how we try to teach that, but not letting the ball cross your face is the most important piece of this. That's the cardinal sin of defense, letting the ball cross your face, right? So if you're a force defender, pulling your trigger on the outside hip, right? If you're a cutback defender, you don't let it cross in your inside hip, right? And then your alley runners, we talk about banana tracks and trying to locate the football as we run. And the last one for us is game winner. So they would say competitive excellence to this. So this could be the last play of the game. It could be a sack fumble that wins the game, pressure, 2-minute situation before a half. These are all things when your best is required, making sure that you're giving your best. Coach G?
Are you tracking these edges after each game or after every game, practice, or both?
Both. So I go through and I track all of these, okay? So as we're watching film, let's say it's a get it out opportunity, right? On even one-on-ones, let's say it's a corner and a receiver and he's got an opportunity to get it out and he does or doesn't successfully, then I'm saying, okay, hey, I'm marking it to put it in a unit film that I will then organize with these things. So the plays would then run after the slide would come up, right? For pull your trigger, bang, bang, they would say. And then the 2 clips from practice, right, would come up of those, right? Or a game. But we will do this after every single, I'll show you as we were talking about reviewing practice, but after every single practice, right, we'll review these, and then Sundays after games. So again, we'll put all the things that we want to talk about into these categories. So, and it may be like, let's say it's the first day of pads and you don't like how your guys were playing in inside run. They weren't playing physical enough. Then it may be 10 plays of junction points, and that's not a very fun meeting for your guys. So, any of those things, right, you can morph these however you want, but our guys know these 13 things and we keep them at those. We don't adjust from there. So right from there, here's an example. Okay, this is just a clip. It's not going to run as it normally would, okay? It would have this as the slide, junction points. They would then respond, got to win them, and bam, you're going into your film of plays from that day, okay? A lot of times we will hotspot film with coaching points so it runs like a teach tape on there, but it doesn't have to be. If you're running the meeting, you can do that, as well. But this is how it would look with a slide, and then from there you would have your coaching points of plays behind that. Right, so here's an example right here of, right, we were emphasizing Drew Jordan, this defensive end. They were running pin and pull toss into the boundary against us. So he does a great job versus the down block from his tight end at the top of the screen. And then Brandon Hill, our will linebacker, does an awesome job whipping a block and going and making a 0-yard gain. So again, this is just a picture of what the film would look like. And it may have coaching points sometimes with them if you're trying to really teach a concept, along with that. I'm big on trying to make your install tapes look like teach tapes, which we'll get to in the install portion. But from this piece right here is just showing 2 guys that are going to whip blocks against Alabama. And this is setting the tone for what we want to be. Okay. Question wise. Okay. This is not for you guys yet. That'll be at the end. Okay. From a question standpoint. Okay. This goes into Chip Kelly's teaching method. So let's say I wanted to ask Coach G a question and I said, hey, Coach G, what's the 2x2 check in this coverage? Okay. No one else listens to me anymore because I asked him directly, right? Compared to if I said, hey, what's the 2x2 check in this coverage? Everybody thought of the answer. And then I say, Coach G, and I ask him that. So every single meeting, right, has exit questions, okay? So this is how it would look. It would say, how many minutes of hell does our defense play, right? So these are, again, this is just creating culture for our guys, okay? And here's Christian Hood, who's a mid-year freshman, when his picture comes up. So again, you saw it. It was the question first, right, that came up on here, okay? And then the picture came up of Christian Hood, and he will stand up in meetings, and then he will articulate to the room 60 minutes, okay? If he's right, then I say give him 1. Bam, everybody does a clap for him, and he sits down. If he is wrong, I will call on another guy. That guy will stand up and answer it correctly, okay? When he sits down, Christian will stand back up and repeat the correct answer, okay? So that's how we're trying to teach, which we're going to get more into teaching with our install, but that's how we're trying to teach for these guys. Right, here's another example of one. Name 2 focus points for this spring, right? And here's Brandon Hill, right, rising senior linebacker, who's going to talk about, right, the 55 and discipline and conditioning, right, or whatever 2 focus points he wants to bring up. Why is this important? Okay. If you don't check with your guys, the notes they are taking in meetings are not very good, right? If you've picked up notebooks after the meetings, right, if they're not being held accountable at the end, unless they're a really, really super motivated special dude, right, it's probably not going to be great. Now, if they know that they're going to have to stand up in front of all of their peers and answer questions immediately, right, from what was just installed, they're going to take really good notes because they can look back at their notes when something's asked to them. And these questions are only coming from what I just talked about. This is not from an install a week ago, right, or from what I pushed to them last night in correction film, none of that stuff. It's just from what I went over. Right? So name 2 winning edges, right? So we have our 13 things. Here's Ahmad Craig, who's a redshirt freshman for us, and Ahmad's going to get up and he's going to answer. Okay, here's 2 winning edges. It doesn't matter which ones, right? I'm going to say, give him 1 or give him 2, and they'll clap 2 times for him. He'll sit down. What's the expectation of getting on and off the field? So here's another mid-year, Aeneas Peebles, right? So again, you're calling easy stuff you may be calling on your freshman for, okay? And they're saying, he said, hey, I'm running on and off the field, okay? So then it's coming out of their mouth. Right? It's not just you, the one who's lecturing to them. So that's an example of a culture install. Okay, so hopefully that helps you guys a little bit from how we try to create it from, again, branding our defense, branding our position, pride points for those guys, making it call and response. So it's not just you up there with just what you believe. It's those guys saying, hey, this is what I believe our defense has to be, making it fun for them too. All right, so now we're on the install portion. Okay, so here is an example of day 1 install at Duke University. Okay, so boom, here they are, right? Again, meetings start the exact same way, strength and honor. Bam, we're into our meetings, okay? So the first thing that comes up every single day is our install sequence, okay? So this may be installs by personnel grouping, okay? So you may be in your 3-4 package, and then you're in your 4-3 package. But let's say the defenses are similar, right? So trying to group those calls together to try to make the teaching as same as. Okay, so if it's over front for the defensive line, it doesn't matter what's going on in the back, right? That may be over front with 3 deep, over front with quarters, right? Same as for them. So we try to install in groups like that for them, okay? Then whatever situation may be going in as well, right? So let's say we had 2 minute going in on one of these days of practice for this install. Then the situation would come in. So they know, okay, hey, this is what we're going to learn today in totality, okay? Then this map comes up for them, okay? So you guys may organize your defenses different ways. It may be sports teams or colors like what's on this. It may be animals. It may be parts of the country. It may be whatever it is, okay? Again, this is all about how are we teaching them, okay? So different guys are learning differently, right? Guys are memorizing defenses differently and studying their playbook. We're going to do the same thing every single day, and we're going to try to categorize as much as we can, right, to help them remember, right? So like you see an example of like here, our call key, right? So sports teams may mean something in a defense, right? Or colors may mean something, or animals may mean something, right? So we're putting that in, and then we're categorizing these calls. So they see the calls that are going in order, right? Both ways. And then they're seeing also, right, your map or your and whatever it is, right? And they're looking at that and they're learning a certain way. And again, this goes back to when you asked about signals, right? This could be fronts and coverages, right? However it's broken down for those guys, right? Here's our base fronts and our exotic fronts and how they're categorized. Here's our base first and second down coverage and the third down coverages, how they're categorized. However you want your guys to remember that, okay? So they see this every day. Then this comes up, okay? So here's our day 1, page 1 install, right? The defensive call where it says 2020 defensive call, that's going to be a game clip of you running that call and being successful in that, okay? So here's an example of 3rd and 6 against Middle Tennessee. We're up 17-3 right here, 8:29 the second quarter. This is the ESPN call, right, or the TV copy of an announcer saying, oh, what a great sack here or a great coverage or a pick. It's a big play in that defense. Why are we doing that, right? We're selling to our guys. This is the best defense you've ever seen. And this is you guys doing it, right? So if you guys all buy in to what we're showing you right now, you're only going to get better at doing it, okay? But again, day 1, them understanding, okay, hey, this is what we're going to do, right? And it's going to work because coach is showing us doing it. And the guys have fun with this. You know, it doesn't have to be an ESPN call. It could be, right, your huddle film of you guys winning a game on 4th down, running your base defense, you know, whatever it is. And it's your guys are getting excited with each other because they're saying, man, how awesome is it? What a great play, Mike. What a great play, Marquise. You know, they're getting excited, right, for the defensive call. Then here's how the call is installed for us at Duke, okay? So every single defense, okay, and I could just pull – our playbook looks different than this, okay? Our playbook is 4 squares, a page of 2x2, a page of 3x1, 2 back, empty adjustments, formation of the boundary, unbalanced, right? It's multiple pages for every single defense. This is their base page for every single call, right? And they're going to learn this from it, okay? The defensive signal is at the top. Off to the right-hand side is the signal, okay? So that's a picture of us signaling that defense to them, okay? Then they're going to know the front rules, the coverage rules, any critical reminders that you're going to have, why we run it, the attack against it, and the situations used. So before they look at anything that has to do with, right, a lot of you guys may have coaching points at the bottom of your playbook already, right? We chose to put this at the very front, okay? So before anything, they know, right, what rules this fall in for front and coverage, your coaching point critical reminders, right? Maybe the most important thing is why you run it, right? They got to know, okay, hey, we're running this defense because it's creating tight coverage, right? Or we're running this blitz because it's to the back and we're going to eat him in protection, you know, whatever it is. Or, hey, this is a soft zone. We're with a big disguise and we're having a change up for the quarterback. How about the attack against it, right? So, okay, hey, we're in a one high contour, right? And the attack against this is going to be quarterback run, right? Or whatever it is. And then the situations used. And this may be dial up first and second down call. This may be, hey, this is in our 2-minute menu. This is a third down exotic for us, right? Or this is a change-up blitz that's game planned against XYZ team, right? So they're seeing this every single day. And then this is how the meeting runs, okay? So this main sheet will be completely filled in with terms, okay? Over, and technique, whatever it is, completely filled in. When it highlights them in red, on the right side, the playbook pops up to teach from that. So instead of just being overwhelmed by a playbook of a ton of different things to look at, right, then it's teaching you piece by piece, okay? So let's say we're teaching over defense, okay? Let's say this defensive call is over defense with quarters coverage, okay? Then the first piece is, okay, what does over mean? What are the front rules? Okay, hey, we're going to set it to the tight end. What happens if the tight end's displaced, right? All that kind of stuff. The next time you click, right, it'll highlight the ends technique, and it may show, you circle the end and talk about him playing his surf technique or whatever you guys may call it in your system, right? And this will also then be linked to film, right? So as you go, okay, so we're teaching right here, right? Zone scheme in this defense, one gap defense pulling apart double teams, okay? This is an example of what we would call putting your brick in the wall, okay? So here's our philosophy. You shouldn't even have to be there to install the defense, okay? If you can build your installs like a teach tape in some way. Right? So that's what I wanted to be able to do. So when we install this in the spring, it's the same. So when players have meetings in the summer, a senior safety is running through this, right? And it's going piece by piece, teaching the defense through the playbook, talking you through it. And then it's also teaching you from this install film, right? So again, this is cut because it's not going to run as the film because it was coming through pretty choppy. But here's an example of us in this defense that we're talking about now, right? We're an over defense, right? And we're fitting one gaps against zone scheme. So like whatever your teaching may be for that, this is showing the guys that. And then again, you're going right back to your questions, right? So it's going to be playbook, right? Explained with a signal. It's going to be playbook, right? Explained with actual playbook pictures coming up next to it, okay? As you're teaching it all with critical coaching points, and then it's going to be film, right? That may go through that, and that could be 5 clips of film, and then back to the playbook for another concept, then 2 clips of film, however you want it, right? Why is that important? Because guys are learning, right? They are hearing you say it. Some guys learn that way. They are seeing it in a playbook. Some learn that way. They are reading it. Some learn that way, right? They're watching a film of somebody else doing it. Some learn that way, right? And then obviously all of us learn when we would go do a walkthrough or do it on the field and see ourselves do it as well. Coach G.
What program do you use to put together the install?
So this is all through PowerPoint, which may sound crazy to you guys. So I'll go back here. So a couple things. This base slide is through PowerPoint. Everything that's drawn for us is Visio. So our playbook is all in Visio, okay? Then all of this film is DV Sport, okay? So I haven't used Huddle as much from I don't know if they have hotspots and things like that. I use it for recruiting. I don't use it as much from a coaching standpoint. But all this is for us is we put the film together, and then all we do is we record the computer screen. And then we have those clips saved so we could push it to their iPads in a PowerPoint. We could email it. We could do all that kind of stuff through here. So we have capabilities in DV Sport to do it the other way, where we take PowerPoint slides and drag it in, or through Exos to drag it in and do that. So we can we essentially do it both ways at our place. But this what I'm showing you right now, right, would be through DV Sport. We would circle those players, we would put in our coaching points, and then we would record that and make it video files and put them into this PowerPoint. So it would run really smooth through a PowerPoint. So, and those slides, that could be vice versa. Right, and again, so you're going to have your exit interviews, right? So your exit questions. What situation was installed today? Right, boom, here's Nate Thompson. Nate stands up, and he says 2 minutes, right? Give him one, bam, and that meeting's over. Okay, so you've been through the first phase, okay, and that phase was our culture. You've been through the second phase, okay, and this will be much shorter, this little piece right there, and then we can open it up more for questions. You guys have them, right? The second phase is going to be how we install and how we teach, which I think is unique and really important for the guys because, again, we're trying to meet them where they're at to get them where we want them to be, right? So that's our way of being able to do that. And then this is the third phase, which this is going to be our review phase, okay? So again, they come into the meeting, right? You've noticed probably too, each meeting looks different, okay? That may be a little thing too, but we want to keep it fresh. So different pictures and different slides, but the same message, right? Unit meeting 3, strength and honor, boom, here our meetings start, okay? So the meeting post-practice or the meeting post-game starts the very first thing, winning edges, right? So here we are back in, so we showed them the winning edges of what it should look like, right, in our culture. And now here we are in our review phase, okay? Like I said, you may use 2 of those 13. You may use 10 of the 13, whatever it is, right? So here's an example of get better. They say every day, right? And then this day 1 is going to be us getting better at playing tight coverage. We were emphasizing that huge, right, of our press man technique. And let's say we did a great job of it. And I'm showing 3 clips of one-on-one clips for everybody to see, right? Or let's say we were really big on flipping our hips or working chop, flip, rip with our defensive ends, right? And then we show 3 clips of one-on-one pass rush of our guys getting it done. You know, whatever it's going to be, right? And then you have flexibility with all these things, right, to be able to do that. So you have that, okay? And then immediately afterwards, right, we award a defender of the day, okay? So like I said, everybody in our defense has a nickname, okay? I don't know how these graphics are coming through right now, but this is supposed to be funny for all the guys, okay? So we award, right, this was Chris Rumpf, okay, who's an All-American defensive end for us, and his nickname is the Grasshopper, right? So we're awarding him in a fun way player of the day, okay? And then we make a cool graphic for him, which just popped up on your screens, and he gets up and he takes a picture, okay, up in front of the entire unit. He gets to come to the front, and we have a Havoc bat at Duke, okay? So we got a baseball bat that has like Duke logos on it and stuff. It's pretty neat. They get to put their number on it, right, like a helmet sticker, and then they get to sign their name on it throughout the season. So week 1, 2, 3, 4, we're building this cool bat that they get to have the whole week, and they bring it to unit meetings on Sundays, right? In the off season, they bring it every single unit meeting because it's getting passed from player to player at a little bit faster rate as we would go through spring ball or through fall camp, okay? But again, we want to say, okay, hey, we asked you to do something. You did it. We want to reward you with something, right? So I think that's important to give what Coach Cutt would say is catch them doing it right, right? I think that's important to catch your players doing it right. You can't just be a negative coach, right, and you're always, right, correcting, right, every little thing compared to, hey, shoot, you did awesome, man, right? Get up here. You led us from an effort standpoint. And it may not be your most productive player, right? It may be a guy that's, you know, being a leader or a guy that's busted his butt in the classroom, and that's translated to the film room as well, you know, and then you're rewarding him with this. And then this is another thing. Again, I don't know how these graphics are coming on here, okay? So we have a takeaway quota every single day. So again, we were going to emphasize takeaways, okay? So we're going to have 3 takeaways every single practice, and we're going to track this, okay? So practice number 1, Lummy Young had an interception, right? So hey, Lummy, awesome job, right? Michael Reese had a fumble recovery. Michael, awesome job, right? And Michael Larby had a fumble recovery. That's great, okay? That's 3, which is good, right? Because that meets our quota. Obviously, anything there or above would be in green. Anything under 3 would be in red. The other thing that we have is we have a bucket that says ODB on it for our damn ball, okay? And that bucket sits on the sideline, and we have one guy on our defense that he's going to be the guy that's responsible for emphasizing takeaways. So he's the guy on the sideline saying, hey, you know, let's get going. Or if he's on the field, hey, we got to get the ball. We're to this practice, right? So again, it doesn't matter if it's important to me. It matters if it's important to the players, okay? So we have a guy, right, Steve Mann, who's one of our players. You see this, it may be coming through kind of choppy for you, but he's responsible for the bucket. If he's on the field, I go get the bucket and give it to him, okay? And then we dunk the football in the bucket. Again, is that a unique idea to Duke? No. What are you emphasizing though, right? And then how are you reinforcing it with your guys? It's one thing if we said, oh, hey, we said 3 takeaways day one. If we didn't recap that and say, how did we do? The guys wouldn't care about it, right? So it's for us as coaches to say, okay, hey, this is what we're, taking pride in, and then we want to create this environment for these guys to grow and continue to get better at. Right? And that's what I got for you guys. So, just in totality, right? How do you establish a culture? How do you teach and install? And then how do you review those coaching points? So again, I appreciate you guys' time. I know there may be some questions here that I'm happy.
Got a few questions for you, Coach. For the defender of the day, what day during the week in the season do you stop recording it?
So we do that all the way through camp. So we do not do that during the season because we do that on Saturday. So once we get into game week, the defender of the day is just after we would play. It's a great question. So we do that every single practice during fall camp. We do that every single practice in spring ball. But during the year, right, the emphasis is just on for us, right? And again, it doesn't have to be like that. It's whatever you want. But our emphasis is just on Saturday from a rewarding that standpoint.
What are the questions do you ask the players to engage them to see if they've learned? If there are players who are not getting it, what do you do?
Yeah, so let's say that we've asked a guy, which I've had this before. We have a young freshman linebacker who we asked a very simple thing like setting the front, okay? And I asked him that one day, he didn't get it right. I asked him that the next day in meetings, and he didn't get it right. And then I asked him a third day in a row, and it became a big joke, so obviously he knew the answer by then. But, if a guy's not retaining, right, either he's not paying attention to what you're teaching or he doesn't understand, right? Which that can happen at times. Guys come to college system and they're learning it so much, you got to simplify for those guys, right? So I think that's really important for a position coach to know, or even coordinator, right? I better know what our guys know. It doesn't matter if I know it, right? If we're calling a defense, our guys have to know that. But I think it can be anything that you want that you are presenting to those guys, right? I think that's all fair game for that, And again, why do we do it? We're just trying to make them pay better attention, learn how to take great notes, and then be able to confidently get up in front of a bunch of guys and answer those questions.
If you were a high school coach, what are some competitive drills you would want to run, and how would you help them get as competitive as possible?
Yeah, it's a great question. So let's take pursuit, for example. So let's take one guy from every position group, a defensive lineman, a linebacker, a corner, and a safety, or 2 D linemen, 2 linebackers if you want it to be a little bit more even, okay? However you want it to do it. Or it could be everybody from the same position group, 4 D linemen, 4 backers, 4 DBs. In the middle of the field, 3 cones down each sideline, 10, 15, 20 yards, right? They're together, right? They're either running in a circle or all together, right? You blow a whistle and they do a up down as fast as they possibly can. They run to those 3 cones. Okay, whoever is left out of those, right, the 4th guy who does not get to those cones, which you may want to do this positionally, has 10 up downs on the last coach who's standing over there. So I think that's a fun, competitive, right? It could be done any time of year with just guys running to the ball. But from us, from a culture standpoint, okay, how are you going to crank your guys up to compete to run to the ball, right? And they're learning not to run behind color too, because there's cones that are staggered for them, like a pursuit drill. So I think that's a fun, you could do it really quick, bam, this way, that way, and I think guys get competitive in that. And you see how, film that drill. You see how fast guys run to the ball, right, when the down's on the line, right? And then you can show your guys from there. But that's one example of a fun, competitive drill that requires no contact.
What are some ways you see culture installed from your position coaches to their players?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, we've had a number of guys that are here or been here that have been through this system. And I think no different than how we do things, right? What do you want to, what's your one point of emphasis every single day, right? So let's say we break up, right? And Coach Goethe takes the linebackers to the linebacker meeting room, then he's going to have whatever setup he wants. Like, let's say he was really disappointed in how they took on blocks or how they play with their eyes. Whatever their point of emphasis is going to be from a football standpoint, he's going to have that in some sort of presentation. It may be 3 clips. It may be a PowerPoint slide with a picture of a bad example, from a football standpoint. Then the other thing is, how are you developing your young men, right? And I think that's just as important, from a culture slide. I use an example of 2 guys, you guys have probably seen it before. They're on a cliff and one guy's holding a rope and another guy's hanging off the edge of the cliff, and it says, who will hold the rope? I use that for an example of, okay, who would you want on your team to be at the top for you? And then would your teammates want you to be at the top? So we do that safety wise, just like as a gut check day one. So I think that's good. And then I think like little exercises. Coach Cut's big on having our guys write down the 5 things that they value most, right? So not morals. What do you value most? Some guy should write this down, right? That's the reality of it, okay? Right? Because, and me too, I'm on this all the time, right? But that may not be one of my top 5 values, but maybe I'm spending most of my time there instead of, right, praying or developing faith or building strong relationships, right? So I think that's another good exercise for your guys to develop culture within your room. And then I think just an important thing when you're a position coach is to get guys up in front of that room, right? You see how they respond in different situations. You see the relationships that they have with the room. Who are leaders? Who do you have to empower? So that's your job. Like when Coach Cut talks about being a head coach of your position, I think that's a good way to establish that.
Okay. How long do meetings last compared to the time spent on the field?
Meetings are way shorter than the time on the field. So if we start a team meeting at 7:05, 5 minutes, we'll be in with Coach Cut. Then at 7:10 to 7:25, maybe special teams. And then we're on the field at 8:35. Okay. So then you would have essentially from 7:30 to 8:20, 50 minutes of a position and individual within that time. And then you'd be on the field for about 2 hours at our place. So that's an example of a schedule for us. So those meetings, preparing them that way, they're part of the reason that we record those things and not just have them in the film is because it keeps me on time. Right. So I would be able to rewind and go back and forth. That's not fair to position coaches either. Right. So recording that. So then I know, hey, this unit meeting, guys, is 21 minutes and 22 seconds. Boom. When that thing ends, Coach Albert breaks them down and then we all go into position from there. And you know that you have 30 minutes with them, or whatever. So
awesome. How long does it take for the players to remember and repeat the 13 winning edges?
So what we do, it's a great question. We have them on the slides underneath, right? So it may say junction points and then in quotes, gotta win them. So we would have those on the slides for them. I'm not trying to make it hard for them to try to remember that kind of stuff, you could test them, and that kind of stuff for their response. But to remember all of those things, I don't know if our guys even have been in the system, could recite all 13 things to you, but they know that those are things that are consistently coming up from you. So you're emphasizing those things. So they could probably at least tell you, 8, 9, 10 of them, most guys in our program. They may forget a little one, here or there. But it's all about what you want to emphasize, right?
Did any of the kids have any input on naming the position groups?
It's a good question. None of them that we've had. So I think it's a great way to do it though. Like I do all the time a branding thing with our safeties, right? And I say, okay, hey, write down the 5 things you want to be known for as a position group. And that becomes our brand for the year. I may have some influence on that, but right, those guys are branding it. So I think that's a cool thing to empower your position to do that. They did not when we started doing it at our place. So the cheetah thing, to be honest, this goes back to when Derek Jones was here. You guys know, a lot of you guys know DJ. He's a great friend of mine. And he was washing, we were calling our guys cheetahs, right? Cheetah, cheetah, cheetah. Because we kept saying, get your eyes to the near hip when we were coaching them. So we kept using that coaching point. And then Coach Jones was sitting at home with his daughter and he was watching Animal Planet. They had a special on cheetahs and they were talking about being a coalition and how they hunt and are blood brothers. And that's how that was created. So Coach Albert brought the Rushman with him. He's been doing that for a number of years when he's been at other places. At Boston College, he was the same way when he was there. And Coach Goethes had wild dogs. So that's kind of become our MO.
Awesome. We'll get this last one here. What about drills that teach the winning edges in practice?
Yeah. So let's use Smart Swarm again. Let's do it different. We have a drill called Havoc Drill. So, which I think is an awesome drill. 4 D linemen are rushing on 4 cans, working on twist games or pass rush. There is a dummy set up with as a quarterback with a ball. The 4 D lineman, one of them is responsible at the right end. He's going to be the guy that is sacking every single time, or whoever you designate is going to be the guy that's going to get the ball out, right? So that's winning edge. Right? Get it out. ODB, one of the guys is going to scoop and score through the end zone, okay? Everybody in the back end is playing a big zone coverage. Let's say it's Tampa 2, 3D, whatever it is, right? They're visioning the quarterback. When the quarterback throws the ball, we have coaches set up as dummy receivers down the field with shields. So when the ball gets high pointed, right, Oski, that happens, and then they block quarterback and intended wide receiver. I throw the ball and I go chase it, right, or whoever you have that's doing it. But that would be an example of what we call havoc drill, but we're teaching our winning edges through that. You know, your pursuit drill is smart swarm, meet me at the ball, right? So those types of things, whatever drill you have, right, it may be hitting a one man, right, and that's working on my junction points, or tackling, you know, working on my junction points. So those are just some examples.
Oh, sorry, I was muted. I appreciate you spending the time with us, Coach. Obviously, he's put up his email up there. Could you just share your Twitter handle if that's a decent way for contact with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Twitter's a great way. That's my email on there. But my Twitter handle is just @ and my first and last name. So @ Matt Guerrieri, MattGuerrieri. That's called me, Coach G, and Coach G, because they can't pronounce a long.
Right, exactly. That's the struggle.
Too many vowels in there. So if you know, on there, we can connect, you know, on there. I'm passionate about, you know, helping guys out. And, you know, if you reach out to me, I'll try to pick your brain and definitely will be taking something from you as well.
Awesome. Well, Coach, man, I really appreciate it. Spending the time with us, man, and sharing stuff about the defensive culture at Duke. Awesome presentation. And once again, man, thank you.
I appreciate you guys. Everybody stay safe, and thanks a bunch for your time.
Awesome.